Hey, what's up, guys? 35,000 players voted, and the biggest problem in Space Marine 2 still hasn't been fixed. Leveling just doesn't feel good, and in this video, we're going to break down why and what could be done to fix it up a little bit and make it less painful for newer players. As you can see in that poll that FTG ran, 41% of 35,000 votes voted that there's issues with the leveling, and I can really empathize with those players because if you're just a casual player and you don't have a lot of time to play, the leveling grind in this game can be pretty insane when you take into account the prestiging, where you have to reset all the way back to level 1 and then leveling up all the weapons. So it can be quite a time sink. For me personally, I voted for the class perks, but that's only because I already have 1,000 hours in the game and I have everything leveled up. But I think a lot of people play a little more casually, or they're just getting into the game from coming in from Xbox Game Pass, or it being free if you're a PS Plus member now. So there's a lot of new players. So we're going to break down why the leveling feels bad and how it could be improved so that hopefully one day Saber can make some further changes to the leveling. So the biggest issue is that it kind of feels like the game punishes you for playing what's fun versus being efficient, because even as somebody who's pretty decent at the game, if I'm really trying to efficiently level up something, a character, like when I was leveling Tech Marine recently, if you're trying to be 100% efficient, you're going to play on like a difficulty that's kind of boring for you, because the death penalty in this game is so significant that if you die during a run, it's just not worth it at all. You pretty much just essentially wasted your time. And especially because there's kind of a weird thing in runs where you could spend 15 minutes in the first quarter of the mission, and if you don't trigger that next zone, you're gonna get literally practically 0 XP. And then it can go on like that. If you die less than halfway through the run, you get hit pretty hard too, where you practically get nothing. And so if you really want to challenge yourself and have fun and play the harder difficulties, you're gonna be giving up that efficiency, and it's gonna take a lot longer to level up. And one of the other problems is that if you're trying to be really efficient with your leveling, the best thing is to just get to know one mission that's fairly short and run it over and over, whereas the fun way to play is just usually to like quick play into runs that are already going. But a lot of the time you're gonna quick play into a run with a couple guys that don't really, know the game super well, and they're in like a difficult chaos mission, and you'll die a lot of the time, or at least some of the time, and that's not efficient at all. So that can be kind of an issue, where the most efficient way is just to run the same level over and over and don't quick play. And then another thing is, newer players say they may want to go for a difficult run and try to get that high XP, but they don't want to feel like a burden to their team. There have been a lot of people kind of saying that online, where they don't want to feel like they're dragging the team down, so they don't bother queuing the higher difficulties, even though those are the ones that get you the most XP and can honestly be the most fun. So that's kind of an issue too. One of the biggest pain points for grinding is every time you go to prestige your class, or even when you're just leveling up your class for the first time, a lot of the best perks are level locked, so you can't get them until you're practically done leveling the character anyway. And this can make it really tough to make a workable build that would even work in the higher difficulties, and so it kind of makes it not fun, because you're pigeonholed pulled into whatever crappy build you can kind of stick together, and then the build variety doesn't really open up until you're done leveling that class anyway. And if you're going for the max prestige, you've got to go through that process 4 times, so it does get a little bit annoying. Luckily, if you're able to clear an absolute run, it only takes I think 3 or 4 runs to get a class fully leveled up, but that's assuming you clear absolute, you're able to get the gene seed, and you don't die. And even I died a few times while I was leveling up the tech marine, even though I chose to just only queue up absolute because it was just too boring. Otherwise, I was like, you know what, if I die, it's fine. I'm not in a rush. So I just did it like that. But I'm just trying to see it from the viewpoint of a casual player that maybe only has, a couple hours, few hours a week to play, and they're trying to be efficient with leveling up their character. I think the biggest fix for this leveling issue, there's 2 big things that I think would make a huge difference, and they wouldn't be hard to implement at all, and it would still keep that playtime up that the developers are always hunting after. They always want players to be in the game more, so they don't want to let you hit level 25 after clearing 2 easy runs, but I think one thing, if they could change this maybe in patch 13, that would help a lot, is add in an enemies killed bonus for even when you lose the mission. So say, as an example, you queue into an absolute mission and you get tons and tons of spawns and you kill hundreds of enemies, but you didn't actually even make it a quarter of the way through the mission. And as the structure is currently right now, you would get practically no XP because you didn't clear that first section, even if you spent 20 minutes in there. And so one thing that would really help is if you got a small bonus based on how many enemies you actually killed. And that would still prevent people from gaming the system, because at least you would have to be good enough to kill the enemies, and it would still take time because you're in there still killing all the waves. But at least it wouldn't be so painful when you lose an absolute run and you get practically next to nothing when you die. So I think that could be one big way that would make a really big difference. And then the next thing that would make a big difference is for the weapon grinding. The one thing that's really annoying right now is when you're leveling up a weapon, say you have it in the white tier and you clear an absolute run with it, it just caps out your XP. As soon as you fill up the white tier and you level up to green, all that XP you got from getting the absolute run done, it doesn't bleed over into the level up bar for the green tier. You're just starting off at 0, and so it makes you do a lot more runs than you would necessarily have to if it would just give you the actual full amount of weapon XP that you earned. And I think that's fair because the higher levels like Artificer and Relic, they take more XP to fill up anyway, so it's not going to be that much faster, but it would just feel a lot better to at least get your full amount of XP that you earned for clearing the run towards your weapon. As far as the class perks being level locked, I don't know how they could fix that issue. The only thing I could think of is just make all the perks available when you prestige, and you're just leveling up to increase your levels back to 25, but it's all the perks are already unlocked, and you're still earning the other prestige perks that you can get. So that could still be worth it because players are going to make that grind for the prestige perks anyway, but at least they wouldn't have their class perks locked down. So I think that's one thing that the developers could consider, is just unlock the perks after you hit 25, regardless if you prestige again or not. But let me know, what do you guys think? If you're a newer player, What kind of issues have you had with the leveling system, if any? I know there's some players that are probably pretty fine with it and happy just to make the grind, but I know a lot of players are pretty time constrained, and I know from looking at my YouTube analytics, a lot of you guys are around my age, like 25 to 44. And I know a lot of those dads out there are pretty time constrained. So I understand that leveling up can be kind of tedious, and you want those prestige perks so you can play in the higher difficulties, because they do help for sure. So it can feel kind of bad to be trying to get those and it taking forever. So I totally understand that. But if you're a new player, let me know, what have you thought of the leveling system? And for players that have been around longer, what are your ideas for fixing the leveling system so it's a little less painful for new players, or whenever we go back to level up a new class, if they ever give us another one? But if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it for me. If you guys have been enjoying my videos, consider subscribing. It really does help the channel, and we're almost at 3,000, so it would really mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.